you have ever donated plasma?
3 times.
Why did you donate plasma? Did you do it because you wanted to do good for the world, or did you do it because they paid you?
To get paid.
Okay. As many of you may know, plasma donation is a monetarily compensated donation. It is considered donation because the donor is compensated for their time. According to the website for America's Blood Centers, 38% of the U.S. population is eligible to donate, but only about 10% actually do. It's imperative to raise awareness about the blood plasma industry in order to provide information and produce medicine for the patients in need of life-saving products derived from blood plasma. As an operations supervisor in a plasma donation facility, it's my job to ensure that a sufficient supply of plasma is collected at the highest level of quality possible. I'll first explain some of the basic steps of plasma collection and some definitions of medical terms that a lot of the general population isn't familiar with, and then we'll review some of the history behind the industry and ways in which the industry has evolved and adapted to the changing needs of the patient population. Plasma is basically the water portion of the blood. Plasma is composed of 90% water, and the other 10% is proteins such as albumin and electrolytes and antibodies. The proteins is actually what medicines can be made of. Plasmapheresis is actually the process of removing the plasma from the blood. This is the process that donors go through in order to donate the plasma. The process of separating the red blood cells from the plasma is performed by centrifuge, and the red blood cells and formed elements are then returned to the donor. But today we'll focus on plasmapheresis just for manufacturing. I have a visual aid. This is a photo of the bowl that the blood is collected into whenever a donor is donating. Right here we have the blood. The blood it forms to the outside because it's the heavier material. It's formed elements in the blood, and then the plasma forms in the middle. And then the plasma goes into the plasma bottle on this side, and then the red blood cells and other formed elements are returned to the donor. Because the formed elements are returned to the donor, a donor is actually able to donate 2 times within 7 days, and because of this, plasma is a much more available product than whole blood. Whole blood is a donor can actually only donate whole blood every 2 months because the body replenishes whole blood every 2 months, and plasma is replenished within 24 to 48 hours. Plasma is actually used for direct infusion into burn victims to help return their body fluids, because whenever they lose their skin, they actually lose a lot of fluid. And plasma can also be made into medications for hemophiliacs, patients that were born with immune deficiency diseases, and there are a few others such as hepatitis and tetanus that they can use to make vaccinations from plasma. The history of automated plasmapheresis, which is how we collect plasma now, has provided a sufficient supply of plasma throughout the world. In about 1940, Victor Grifols presented the automated plasmapheresis machine, and this machine was actually the first time that we were able to collect the whole blood, separate the plasma from the blood, and then return the red blood cells to the donor, which, as I mentioned earlier, provides for a very good supply because the donor is actually safely able to donate much more often than he would otherwise if he did not get the red blood cells back. And the plasma industry is a highly regulated industry in order to alleviate unnecessary spread of disease. The Food and Drug Administration and the International Quality Plasma Program the Plasma Protein Therapeutics Association are only a few of the associations that regulate the plasma industry. The evolution of the plasma industry throughout the 20th century has provided a very sufficient supply of plasma, and with that said, plasma is a very useful product, and it continues to grow, and it's a very great industry, and anyone who wishes to donate plasma, it's a great way to make a difference in the world in more ways than one.